This week, I'm joined by a very special guest on the podcast, and it's someone I've wanted to have on the show for ages for a chat. In the role of Shona, she's been one of my favourite things on the show since she joined back in 2016, and she's here with me today to talk about her memories on the cobbles and, of course, the recent stuff with the Platt fire. It's the ripped jean queen herself, Julia Goulding. Julia, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I love the Rip Jean Queen thing. That's brilliant.
That's what you are, isn't it? Gemma, I was talking to her about, what should I ask Julia? And she says, we've got to ask her, do your knees get cold?
Of course, I have cold knees constantly. But I mean, who is Shona without ripped jeans?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I love it. I love, Hilda had her curlers, Bet had her leopard skin. You got your holes in
Absolutely.
the jeans.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So I felt it's been a bit of a quiet few years recently for the Platts, but all that changed last year with the double whammy of Clayton's return and David stealing the money from Harvey. How have you found being back in the spotlight again?
Oh, it's been wonderful. It's been so, so good. We've had an amazing time. It's been very busy, very,
Mm.
very busy. But that's the nature of the show, and you're either all in or you're living a happy, quiet life. And what's a happy, quiet life when you're on Coronation Street?
Yeah,
Boring.
that's no fun, is it? The fire at number eight's been the biggest thing that's happened to you for a while. What can you tell me about what that was like to film?
Wow, that stunt, it was incredible. You felt the reverberation of the explosion like through your actual chest. It was
Wow.
amazing. So they did the actual explosion twice. We did it once to show us what it was going to look like. And then we did it once for an actual take. And obviously lots of rehearsals around it. But yeah, it was just brilliant. Night shoots as well. I think the first night it was snowing. So
Really?
yeah, so we had to pack up on the first night. But the crew being and the director being as incredible as they are,
Hmm.
we pulled it all back round and got it all done. It was brilliant.
Brilliant. Well, what did you think when you heard they wanted to do it as like one long tracking shot from the going in and out and back again? What kind of challenges did that pose as well?
Yeah, I'm really ambitious, but I have every faith in Matt Hilton, our director, that he could
Hmm.
do it. And he did. He pulled it off. It was brilliant. And the special effects and everything that sort of were woven through the piece to make it seem like one shot. I thought, really well done. It was brilliant.
Yeah, because it was about 5 minutes or so on screen. Did that take a lot of the evening shoots to do? Was that just done over evening after evening to put that 5 minute bit together?
The interior, we actually did in Underworld. So the exterior Underworld set inside, they rebuilt the Platt set,
Yeah.
and that's where we did all the interior stuff, which then moved through and out to the street, seemingly in one shot, but obviously it was filmed on different days.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense. That makes sense. So you had your CGI, you had your actual explosion. Were you kind of prepared for how big that explosion would be?
No, not at all. And it was funny as well because even with the costume and stuff, we had to my because I went into the fire itself. My costume had to be completely cotton. There was no synthetic materials allowed to be used because we did actually have fire around us. It wasn't all CGI'd.
Hmm.
Um, because Paddy and I started at the top of the stairs, and the side of the stairs was on fire, and you could feel it. Obviously, we were incredibly safe. We had an amazing team around us to make sure that we were safe. But yeah, it added a layer to the performance, I've got to say.
Yeah, yeah. And the Platts have been living in that house for something like, 35 years now, I think. It feels like it's one of the most iconic, unchanging sets outside the likes of the
No.
Rovers. And can viewers expect to have a little bit of a makeover from it when we eventually get back let in again, do you think?
I assume so. I've not seen it myself yet.
Ah, okay, okay. I mean, I guess it's been Gail's choice of decor for all these years as well, but maybe Shona's going to get a chance to. Well, what do you think that her decor style would be?
um, I don't think it'd be anything like mine. I can tell you that. Um, Not sure, but yeah, I think so. One of the design team actually did ask Jack and I if we had any input,
Oh, yeah.
but I think they do it so well. I think they know the characters, they know what kind of things they'd want because I think my own personal preferences would sneak in. So
Hmm.
I'd be like, oh, I'd want some shutters, or I want some, nice herringbone flooring, which and a Belfast sink, which I don't think is probably Shona and David's style. So.
No, no.
Yeah, no, I trust the design team. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Gail, obviously she left Weatherfield back at Christmas, just
Yeah.
in time to avoid all this fire drama, luckily. And that was after like 50 years on the street for Helen Worth. What was it like saying goodbye to her after all this time?
Well, I mean, obviously, I've only worked with Helen for eight years,
Mm,
but I've been watching her on screen. She's been girl Platt in my living room since I was, since I can remember watching. So it was incredibly emotional. And obviously emotional to see the rest of the cast, like, Tina and Jack and Ben and Sue saying goodbye to somebody they've worked with for so many years. Yeah, it was incredibly moving, and I felt incredibly privileged to be a part of the whole storyline.
mm, mm. Okay, I know you said you were a bit of a Corrie super fan before this started. Now you're on the show. Can you see yourself staying there for half a century like Helen did?
If they'd have me, yeah. I love it. I love my job. It's honestly it's the best thing to happen to me, apart from my kids and my husband, of course.
Of course.
Um, but yeah, I absolutely love it. I skip into work every day.
Nice.
So yeah, if they'd have me, I'll stay as long as as long as I can.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it must be a Corrie fan's dream to go from somebody who was. I think you were a big Corrie fan, weren't you? You weren't just like you watched
Fine.
it a bit. You loved it. It
Yeah,
must be like a dream to go from that onto working on the program.
yeah, definitely. It was. I still pinch myself now, to be honest. Because I think I got the job in the October, or I started the job in the October, but the Boxing Day before, I actually went to the old street, the old set, where they did the
Yeah,
tours
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Had my picture taken behind the Rovers bar, and less than a year later, I had a job on the show. Couldn't believe it. Still can't.
Yeah, yeah. Did you think that you would you fancy yourself working behind the bar at the Rovers Return sometime then?
I don't know. I'm happy at Roy's. I like
Yeah.
that set. It's a nice
Yeah.
intimate set, and working with David is just such a privilege.
Yeah.
Although, to be working under Jenny Connor would be pretty cool as well. So
I think so. I think so. I guess when you're working in the cafe, you get a lot of background work as well, don't you? Do you mind that just kind of sitting there in the background, buttering the bread rolls while the main action's going on in front of you?
no, I love it. To be honest, a lot of the time I end up watching Corrie myself. So I'll be in
Mm.
the background buttering bread, going, no, oh my God. I remember when Tyrone proposed to Fizz in the cafe. It was a couple of years ago now, I think. I can't remember. But I remember watching it just being like, wow. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't Shona then at all, I was just Julia watching Corrie.
That's so funny. I know that when he used to do background bits in the Rovers, Roy Barraclough, who of course played Alec Gilroy, used to
Yes.
like entertain himself with a bit of mischief behind the bar. Do you ever kind of get up to tricks or whatever just to pass the time while you're behind the bar the counter at Roy's?
Couldn't possibly say that. I mean, I'm always a professional.
I was a
But
professional.
no,
You are
we do
done.
write silly notes to each other and stuff. Molly, who plays Nina, like we've always got a pad in our hands, and we can be on sets at different times. So like sometimes we just write little notes and things, which is quite sweet.
Yeah.
So but yeah, no, I'm ever the professional. Thank you very much.
Do you think that it makes it easier or harder to be a big fan of the show when you're in it? I mean, is it hard to switch off from Coronation Street if it's so kind of so much a part of your life?
I don't know really. I think now, obviously, I just see everybody as my colleagues and friends and things. Um, and yeah, I mean, home life is just so busy with the two children. There isn't really much time apart from when I'm learning my lines and stuff, obviously. So
Mm,
yeah, no, I think it's a good even setting now for me.
mm,
Just part
mm.
of the furniture.
Yeah, yeah.
Corrie is in
I
my
know.
life.
I know it was helpful for you when you did the Corrie versus Emmerdale quiz that one time. I think you were a proper asset to the team that year. They should let you do it with Jack every year, I think, Julia.
I would love to do it every year. But that we'd always win then. So you've got to give Emmerdale a chance, haven't you?
I think they're
I'm
they're
joking.
ahead by 1 year at the moment, aren't they? We
I
need to catch
know, I
up
know.
in 2025.
Ooh, I
Got to pick your
know.
team wisely. So tell me a bit more about your experience of getting the job back in the show. What was that like? How did you audition? When did you find out? Tell me a bit about that.
So I used to ask my agent all the time to get me an audition for Corrie. And I was just like anything, like a stenographer or a police officer, just one app, whatever. And he said, no, no, we'll hold out for something. We'll hold out for something. And then it was just after Kylie had died. I mean, literally just after, about a week after or something. I was still grieving her. Sorry, I've got hair in my mouth. Um, and and he came to me with this new regular, and it was for to play David Platt's love interest. And I couldn't believe it because Kylie wasn't even cold.
Yeah, it was only about
um,
6 months after she
yeah, it was that I
bucket that you
actually
turned
joined the
up, wasn't it?
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously the audition process started much earlier than that.
Mm.
So so I went in to meet Jenny, the casting director. Went on tape with her, and then I was invited back to do a screen test. And there was a few of us that went back to do the screen test, and we did that. And then, gosh, I had to wait another sort of week and a half. And then I found out I had a second screen test because they saw the first one was quite fighty and, brashy Shona and all that kind of thing. And then they wanted to see me flirt with Jack because they needed to obviously see that kind of chemistry as well.
Yeah.
So I went in for a second one. And then at the end of that, I got the train back to London because I was living in London at the time. And when I was on the train, my agent called me and said I got the job. So it was about 3 hours after the second screen test that I found
Wow.
out I had the job. And I was on the train on my own. And I dived across the boy sitting next to me and just ran into the vestibule and I rang Ben. And I was like, I've got the job. And I was just running around this little tiny bit of the train on my own with nobody to hug. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I couldn't stop smiling. It was brilliant.
So what about that stepping onto the cobbles for the first time then? As good as everyone always says it is?
Yeah, it really is. I did one of my first scenes was completely on my own, and all I had to do was come out and pick up milk off Eileen's doorstep because I was staying with Eileen at the
Um,
time. And it was just me and like this whole crew, and they were setting up a tracking shot, and I was just looking around, and it was a real pinch me moment, and it still very much is.
yeah. Was there anyone you were especially excited about working alongside or even nervous about, I guess?
Well, Helen Worth,
Mm.
you've got Gail Platt, and I got to do scenes on my own with her, and gosh, that she taught me so much, so much. And but without even realizing it, she's such a wonderful person. But yeah, everybody, Steve McDonald,
Mm.
Roy, everybody's there. I remember my friend testing me on everybody's real names before I started,
Yeah.
just to make sure that I didn't accidentally call Kevin Kevin. Well, Mike
Did
Kevin, you know what I
did
mean?
you though? Because I bet everybody makes a slip up like that at some point.
Um, yeah, Mike and Kevin is a difficult one, and I remember Bev Callard, Liz.
Mm.
She was just Liz, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, it's great. Love it.
Especially if you've been watching it for so long, I bet it's
Yeah,
really difficult to not
yeah.
accidentally do it.
But
Yeah,
to be honest, now I call Jack on set instead of David by accident when he annoys me.
I like how when you listed the names of the characters that you were excited to work alongside or actors, you didn't mention Jack there. I'm sure it was implied
Oh
though.
no! Oh, but when he was bad, David, when he was younger, I couldn't stand him. Oh, and then I ended up playing his wife.
I know, I know.
No, but Jack's the best. He's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, you must have felt that there were pretty big shoes to fill because I think the partnership between David and Kylie that was quite a fan
Mm.
favorite, wasn't it?
Absolutely, still is. It still
Mm.
is. It's like, especially for me as well. They were an iconic Corrie couple.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was big shoes to fill, and obviously as well with the whole Clayton thing. You're already on an uphill struggle
Mm.
to win people over, I suppose. But hopefully Shona's done that, and not with everybody, but that's fine because it keeps things interesting, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I love David and Shona together. What would you say gives them the spark? What makes them a because they are a long-lasting couple now, aren't they? I mean, if you can last longer than 3 months on Coronation Street, then yeah, that's a
Yeah.
long-lasting couple. What do you think it is about David and Shona that has worked so well?
Well, I think neither of them are perfect and they just muddle through, but they love each other essentially at the end of it.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, wow, it took what, 7.5, 8 years for one of them to have an affair?
I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it, Julia.
Neither could I. Neither could I. Very disappointed in her.
Yeah. Who do you think is most at fault for this? Was it David for
Yes.
stopping Shona seeing Shona, or is
Yes.
it Shona's fault?
No. Well, I think that obviously they're both at fault. She definitely shouldn't have cheated, but it was a complete revenge attack. Um, I don't think she ever would have done had the gaslighting and the whole Clayton thing not happened. So, yeah, I think they were both in the wrong, but yeah, that's pretty calculated from David. It was just a knee-jerk reaction. It was an emotional reaction from Shona. Yeah,
Do you feel
whereas he
like it's
went proper
important?
dark.
Do you feel like it's important to try and justify it when your character does things that you wouldn't necessarily expect for them to do?
Yeah. No, I think it is important because there has to be a part of you that can find reason in what they're doing. I think just to sort of create the most believable performance that you can.
Mm, mm. But Clayton, going back to him, always felt like a quite interesting fly in the ointment for this relationship. He's almost a bit like a Terry Duckworth character, isn't he? That he kind of shows up every now
Yeah.
and then and causes a bit of trouble. He obviously can't show up on the doorstep like Terry used
Yeah,
to.
of
But
course. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how long he's supposed to be in prison. Do you? How long is he gonna until he can?
Yeah, Jack and I were talking about this the other day. I think Jack said he got 15 years
Right.
and obviously he served 8, but then he did break out that time, didn't he? And hold a
Yeah, that's
hostage. So I think he will have had extra added to his sentence. So I'm not actually sure, but I can't see him getting out anytime soon.
no, no. What was it like
But
those
it's
hostage
Corrie.
scenes?
Who
What were those?
knows?
Yeah, what were those hostage scenes like to film? That was looked quite fun.
They were real. They were really good. It was cold. I think it was January time we filmed
Yeah,
those,
it
and
was
it
an early
was
in the year
so
one. Yeah.
cold. Yeah. I remember just everything hurting because it was just, and it's like you can't even move your arms and your legs anymore. Um, yeah, it was really fun. We did it sort of close-ish to the studios. It was around Rush Home, I think we filmed that. And it was over about a week
Hmm.
in a place called Antwerp Mansion. It was really cool inside, and apparently haunted. But who knows?
I
I remember
remember
Callum being really
stories.
scared.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell me about your ghostly experience.
yeah. Oh, I didn't have one, but Callum was
Oh.
convinced that they were ghosts. I know, I know. I was very brave.
That was another one that Gemma was excited to hear about the ghosts on the hostage scenes, but I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I'll have to wait for someone else to hear about that one. Okay, something that always comes up in any discussion about Shona is the story they came up for your first maternity leave, which saw you having your brain damage and your amnesia. I mean, we are talking proper dramatic soap opera stuff here.
Oh
You
yeah,
had,
definitely.
tell me about the challenge of playing the very different type of Shona after that event.
Well, we did. So it was obviously it's all in the writing, isn't it?
Mm.
And we did work with a brain charity. I can't remember what their name was now off the top of my head. Um, but yeah, so Ian rang me up and said that they'd had an idea about this the storyline to cover my maternity leave, and he said, but it will leave Shona different forever, and I was so excited about it.
Yeah.
Because whoever gets to really play two different characters in a soap
Mm.
opera,
Yeah.
unless you're evil twin. Um,
Or Jane Hazelgrove, she's done two characters now, hasn't she? Two big characters.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it was just basically all in the writing. And obviously I was off for so long in between, it sort of gave me a chance to really get to grips with the new Shona.
Mm.
And essentially her essence is still there. Um, it's just that she doesn't have the filter now. So that is just, of course, that's fun to play.
Mm. Mm.
um, so yeah, and you can be a little bit more cheeky with how you do things and a bit more playful. And I think she's slightly more like I actually am now, sort of a bit more bouncy
Yeah.
and less violent. Well, probably not less violent, but
Yeah, I think when you first, had that personality change when you came out of the coma, you were a little bit more on the extreme sides of it. It feels like we're in a bit of
yeah,
a happy medium between the two of them now, doesn't it?
absolutely. But I think you have to sort of soften it a little bit just for longevity for the character, and obviously to be able to play different storylines and things like that. So yeah, so old Shona's definitely there, new Shona's definitely there, but it's a bit more sort of down the line just to give us more scope for storylines, I suppose.
Sure, sure. One thing I really enjoyed about how impulsive the new Shona was when you got involved in the rescue efforts on the Coronation Street scenes going down. I need to know about that. That looked epic. Those
It
scenes.
was so much fun. It was so much fun. I did a week filming in Space Studio, where they built the underground sewer network. I think
Mhm,
Sally Ann did 2 weeks working in there.
mhm.
Um, and the water, like it was, I mean, it was warmish. It wasn't, hot. I remember they'd have to pour hot water bottles down our backs. We had wetsuits on and everything. And in between takes, we'd play a bit of water volleyball and stuff. It was really good. It was really good, really dramatic and cool. And it's always fun to be part of a stunt. It's always fun to be part of a stunt because it's just something different from the norm,
Mm.
from buttering bread or making tea in the Platts, folding washing, going down a storm drain. It's a perfect job.
I wonder whether Shona's brain injury can go some way to excuse her for hopping into bed with Kit, and then that was just another impulsive thing that she did.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, yeah, of course it was. It was an impulsive thing. As I said before, it was just a knee-jerk emotional reaction to what David had done. I don't think Kit was on a radar. I don't think he will be again. I mean, who knows? But yeah, it just so happened it was him. It could have been anyone,
Mm.
I think, personally.
Do you think it's a relationship that Shona could be tempted to revisit at any point?
Who knows? I don't write the show. They might.
Ah.
But no, and obviously I couldn't possibly say.
You couldn't even say, even if you knew.
I couldn't even say if I knew, even though I don't, I promise.
I hope not. I do. I love Shona and David together. I think that they need to stick together. This is definitely the most on the rocks that they've been in the 8 years, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, who knows what the future will hold for them, but it would be nice to see them try and work things through.
Mm.
Um, because as is life, they're just really not giving up on each other, which I think is lovely, and it just shows how much they love each other,
Yeah.
or that they're real suckers for punishment.
I mean, all in all, then it sounds like you're pretty happy with everything that's going on in Coronation Street at the moment. You said you'd like to keep playing Shona for a long time to come, but I mean, what about side gigs? Do you ever get like a hankering to get back on the stage again, or are we going to be seeing you in the jungle or strapping on the ice skates any point in the future?
Um, Not the jungle. I can't eat anything, and I'm not throwing myself out of a plane. No, absolutely not. I don't know. Yeah, obviously, I miss stage and things like that. But as I said with Corrie, every day is different. It's never the same, and you get to do so many different kinds of genre, I suppose,
Mm.
within it. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? I'm happy where I am though for now. We'll
Oh
see what the
yeah,
future holds.
I do. I'm glad you say when we saw you back in November. I remember us chatting on the press day, and I said, "Oh, you're not leaving, are you?" I was convinced for some reason that you were one of the people that was going, and you were like, "No, no, Mike, I'm not going anywhere." But I'm glad. I think she thinks she's ace, and it's absolutely true. One of the best characters that's come into the show since we've been doing the podcast for sure.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet.
And and thinking of talking of other new characters, just one last thing before we go. We've recently
Mm.
seen the debut of Farrell Hegarty's character Lou on the cobbles. You've seemed to have been posting it on each other's timelines a lot recently. Are you two good mates in real
Yes.
life?
Yeah, I've known Farrell for about 18 years. So
Oh.
my best friend from Manchester when we were kids, she went to drama school with Farrell back in 2007, and I went to RADA in 2008. So yeah, so that's when we met their friends, and then we sort of all ganged together in London. So yeah, Farrell's one of my best mates, and now I get to work with her every day. It's brilliant.
That's really
Well,
nice.
actually, no, I've
Lou's
not
a
done the
real
scene
nice
with her
breath
yet.
of fresh air, isn't she? Just like Shona,
Oh,
Lou,
she's
she seems to
wonderful.
bring a good bit of energy to the show.
Absolutely, yeah. She's fantastic. She really is. She's got such a good energy. She's a brilliant actress, and all round really cool, decent, amazing person.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me today and for giving us a tour of your of wherever you're walking about at the
Of
moment.
Farsley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's made a nice change. I mean, we don't usually get this on the podcast. If you're just listening to the podcast version of this, then you've missed out on a lovely countryside tour.
I know, I think I've actually only been on the canal for about 3 minutes. But you've enjoyed the walk to the canal from my friend's house, so
Yeah, it's been great. It's been lovely. Cyclists going past and all that. Yeah, honestly, thank you very much, Julia. We've messaged on and off for years, haven't we? But it's nice to be
of
able to get
course,
you
yeah.
onto the show for a proper chat.
Yeah, it's been lovely. Really, I love talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I hope maybe we'll see each other at some point this year as well if we're up in Manchester again.
I'm sure we will.
Right. Well, I'll let you get back on and enjoy your walk then.
Thank you very much. I'll let you
See you
get on
then.
as well. See you
Thank you.
later.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.